Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to change your grids within Rekordbox to make it easier for you to DJ. Whether you're a visual DJ that looks at your grids when you're playing, if you're using an RX2 you're going to see them visually lining up together with the different tracks, or if you like using a lot of loops, then this is going to be vital for you. So what we're going to do is open up Rekordbox. I'm using 6. This will also work in Rekordbox 5, and as you can see, I'm currently on grid. Now, if you can't see this, you need to make sure that you're not still looking at Q/loop. This whole section here changes across when you click grid. First things first, we want to make sure that the track has got the right BPM. Now, this one here is 140, so I'm going to leave that as is. That's all good. So if it says 139.9, you might think, oh, it's only 0.1 off. That's going to make a big difference in the long term as it goes through the track. It's actually going to slip, and we don't want that. So first things first, make sure that you put it to the natural BPM of the track. Next, you're going to want to line up the marker, which is that red line there, to the very first transient of that beat. All right, make sure that it's before it so that you can get that very first click of the kick. And to test it, just press C on your keyboard. It's the same as like C or Q on the decks. Cool, so once we've got it there, you're going to want to come over and press this white and red button which says set the first beat of the bar to this current position. So once we click that, it's going to make the entire grid move over so that it starts from there, and the grid is going to be set to 140 from that position. So we're going to go ahead and click it and watch as it moves over. Okay. What we're then going to want to do is go through the track and make sure that it's holding the whole way through. Now, to jump forward by phrase, check that your setting here is set to 8 bars. 8 bars in dance music is generally a phrase. 16 beats will be half a phrase. So let's leave it on 8. And we're going to use the arrow keys left and right to jump across. So as you can see, that's all good. Goes into the breakdown. Then we're going to keep going across, and we just want to make sure that that's all good. Sweet, keep going. One really important part that you want to make sure is on point is the last drop in the outro, because this might be where you're wanting to loop. If you're running out of time and you're like, oh God, I still need to mix in another song, you can loop it and it can be continuously playing and save your ass. So this is all good. It's on the beat every time that we test it. If, for instance, you have a track that breaks down into a different BPM and then perhaps comes back, or even a transition edit which starts off at 1 BPM and then changes to another, so there's a way that you can actually go through and tell Rekordbox to set a different BPM marker later in the track. So I'll show you now. So the track today I'm going to use as an example is my remix of Lagrange, and the reason that this one actually changes BPM is because I've gone and taken the original, which was I think about a 150, 160 track, played it at the original speed and then slowed it down really gradually to get to the drop being 140 BPM. So if you look at my intro, it's starting off, it's in time, it's at 140, and then when it breaks down, it actually starts to slip. The grid starts to slip. And as we get to the drop, you'll see that the grid is completely out. So here, if we jump forward to that drop, you'll see that there's a gap there and the grid is completely out of time. So if we were to loop that right there, it would be a disaster. So what we're gonna wanna do is use this button right here that says make an adjustment from the current position. Now what this is going to do is it's going to tell Rekordbox that from this point that we click it, we want that to now represent what this BPM says here. Now, this is the part where you need to be careful, because if it's changing BPM completely, you're going to want to put in the new BPM here. If it's a transition edit going from say 100 BPM up to 128, you're going to want to type in 128 and then click that button. But because mine's going from 160 to 140, we are now going to leave that as 140. Hope that makes sense. So if I click this button here, it is now going to move that point across and that grid. So press that, and you'll see there that the ones before it kind of disappear. Because it's a secondary grid, it's its way of showing you that. And then now if we have a look and we actually scroll out, now we can see that the grid is actually in time and holding. And if we have a look through some of these other cue markers, and it's now in time. And we're going to check a little bit later on in the track to make sure it's still holding, especially through that outro and last drop. So if we jump forward to this cue marker, and you can see that yes, it is still in time. See? Now don't worry too much about the fact that the red markers aren't exactly on that first beat of the drop. When changing things around using the secondary marker, this will happen. The main thing is having the red marker at the very first beat of your track. So if we scroll back to the start of the track now, you'll notice that the grids are actually missing because we've re-gridded it from a certain point. As long as they are still showing up in the right spot, then it's all good. So I'll flick back to the start, and as you can see there, so the red marker was still at the very first beat, and it's holding. We scroll through it, still all good. So that is how you regrid your tracks. Now this is going to take time, and I'm so sorry in advance because it is very time consuming. But once you've got this all set, this metadata is saved in your Rekordbox, and every time you update your USB, as long as you're using Sync Manager, this is always going to be updated onto your USB. I hope this has helped. Any questions, please let me know, and anything else you want to learn. Until next time, see you guys soon.